evening, everyone. How are you? Good, good. I'm especially happy to be with you, Pacifica Democrats. Mike, thank you for your leadership of the club, all of the members, the work that you've done over the years, the issues that you care about. This is really part of the backbone of our civic community. And clubs, I remember when Ronald Reagan was elected, and I said to my father, "Oh my goodness, Dad, what are we going to do?" And he said, "There have to be a lot of Democratic clubs founded." Really, I remember, that's so long ago, but he had he had a marvelous sense of what works and the work that needs to be done, and that clubs really are the groups that are spring up from the community. So you're important. That's what I'm saying to you. You're important, and I didn't know whether I was going to make it or not. There are more flights that are canceled. I went to to National Airport about 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon to get my flight, and delay. Then I heard my name being paged, and the man at the desk said, we can get a seat for you. They don't want to tell you that the flight is canceled. They just keep saying it's delayed. There were like 4 or 5 delays, and but we have a seat for you at Dulles Airport. Dulles Airport is pretty far out of town. You know that. At 10:20. So I had to get my luggage. I had to wait because the luggage was checked and all that. Well, I made the flight. I got on the plane. I actually boarded, and they were closing the door. I was so grateful. I thought, oh, this is great. That was delayed for another hour. So I got in at 5:30 this morning. Oh. Yeah. So I'm especially glad that it all worked out.
May I interrupt?
Sure.
I noticed she said National Airport. I do the same thing. I have never called it RR Airport.
Yeah. Washington. It's Washington.
Yes.
It's Washington, and then they nicknamed it National, and then it was named after President Reagan. So, I'm here. I'm here with you. Let me just just give you a brief, maybe a 10,000 foot view of what's going on in your Congress. We are now, there are 12 appropriation bills. Those are the money bills to fund the agencies, the executive branch of our government. And of course, the Republicans are now in charge of the House. And when I opened my front door this morning, my New York Times was there, and Republicans ram divisive measure to House victory. This is above the fold. This is above the fold. And I'm not going to read what's in it, but I'll share with you what they're doing. And it is, this is serious. This is as serious as it gets. We have a responsibility to bring forward the bills that then, God bless you, that then they have to move through the various committees, and we review them, we reauthorize bills, laws that have been on the books. Some have reauthorizations every 5 years, some longer, some shorter, but we have the responsibility to take all of those bills up, and if there are reforms that are needed, you make the reforms. You want to make some additions, you want to take some things out. That's what the Congress does in the committees. In my committee, Energy and Commerce, very, very powerful committee. very powerful committee. The jurisdictions are enormous. It's everything from HHS, everything that's under HHS. So it's Medicaid, Medicare, all health issues are in that committee. All interstate commerce, all telecommunications. I mean, it goes on and on. It's a very, very powerful committee. And one of the bills that we took up this week, and they call it a markup, where you're actually writing the bill, is a highly successful program in our country. This is just to give you a taste of what this new majority is doing. It's called the Children's Hospital Graduate Medical Education Program. That program funds the training of pediatricians in our country, the pediatricians and pediatric specialists. And I've always been the Democratic lead on the bill to reauthorize it along with a Republican. It's always been bipartisan. And the program works magnificently. It really does. And these doctors are obviously, they get excellent training, but they go out to rural communities, underserved communities across the country. Very successful right here at the training at UCSF and at Stanford. And so what do they do with this bill that has never, ever had any partisanship? And it was bipartisan in terms of the pride in this program. What did they do? They placed 19 procedures that should be, that they want banned. This is in legislation, that they want banned at children's hospitals relative to trans children. Now, it's not front page news, and the children's hospitals are, they're beside themselves on what's going on, because this is now part of their culture wars. Their culture wars. And these children's hospitals are getting bomb threats as a result of it. And when this bill was taken up, I thought of someone that I heard on TV. I had it on low, and I, was doing things in the house, and then I started paying attention to whomever it was. I wasn't watching it. I'm listening, just, half listening to it. And I thought, this sounds like some state legislature. Well, I went and I stood in front of my TV, and it was a woman legislator in Nebraska. And they were having a big debate on trans children. And she ended her remarks. I have chills as I'm repeating it. She ended her remarks by saying to her colleagues, I hope when you go home, you will love your children as much as you hate mine. This is so wrong. It's so cruel. And it was taken up in the National Defense Authorization Bill on the floor yesterday. So these culture wars, it's most of us don't even want to pay any attention to it because it's so off the wall in plain English. It doesn't make sense. There are conspiracy theories that are a part of it. What is it picking on trans children? The medical procedures should not be decided by legislators, and these are decisions that are made between the physician, the parents, on behalf of the child. So this is really these are the issues du jour in the Congress. And I know that this, again, this sounds like, you mean Anna flew home and came to Pacifica to share this with us? But it's damaging. It's damaging. It is, the National Defense Authorization Bill, that funds everything for our military. Everything for our military. And if the amendments that they offered were jaw-dropping. Do away with all diversity training in our military. Well, you want the best and the most diverse in our military. It's what our country is, and you want the best in terms of readiness and preparation for our troops. And instead of strengthening and doing things for military families that have great needs, one person serves, but the family actually is part of that service. And we have the responsibility to look after them. There are programs in the military that, regardless of where women that are serving in our armed forces, that they have full coverage of health care. Well, they went after that because they don't want anything to do with the reproductive anything, and of course the issue of abortion. So this is what they turned one of the most significant bills that Congress takes up. And it passed on a very, very. There were only four Democrats that voted for it. So, in the committee and on the floor, in each committee, and then as these bills progress and go to the floor, this is what the highlight of the legislation is. And I've never seen anything like it. Yeah, who was it that said, how many years has Anna been in Congress? This is a long time. And I've seen a lot and experienced a lot. This is something that is really damaging to our country. And let me bring it back to what I said. You are important. Clubs are important. Everything that we do relative to caring about our civic life, what kind of a nation we have, what investments we make for our collective future. This has to change. These people don't deserve to be in the majority. Now, I have said to Republicans that I've served with have relationships with over the years, you don't deserve to call yourself a Republican. You don't deserve to call yourself a Republican because we don't agree with their policies, but the Republican Party was a great party. And they produced very important leaders for our country. Of course, in a democracy, you debate all of it. We think that our ideas are great for strengthening our democracy and the things that the tenets of the Democratic Party. But I said I think that. Again, I say this to them one-on-one and urge them to speak out and to speak up. But they have really lashed themselves to the mast of Donald Trump. And that's just the way it is. Whether they're afraid to speak up, I think there's probably a list of things. I'm not their psychiatrist, but I know enough to understand very well that this is so damaging for our democracy. It really is. They're not doing the work of the people. Actually, they didn't really run on anything. They really didn't run on anything. I think one of the highlights of this week is a positive. It's not what the Congress did, but it's what the FDA did. And so for the first time, we're joining over 100 countries now with the approval of over-the-counter contraceptive pills. And I think that that's a very, very important step. Now, we don't know what the drug is going to cost, and very typically, their insurance companies don't pay for over-the-counter drugs. So this is something that's obviously new, but there have been many women's organizations that have been on this for a long time, and this is important for women across the country, especially with the attacks on reproductive freedoms in our country. You know about the most recent Supreme Court decisions. It's a highly changed court, and what I would say is that the Republicans, and the one that really has led this effort for a very long time, he played the long game, Mitch McConnell, to change the court, and they did. And they did. And when you see what that they have they have taken cases that had no standing. So it's fiction. The woman that said she doesn't want to design any website for a gay marriage. No one came to her with that case. She said, if someone comes to me, so that it lacks standing. But they know how to do this. They've perfected it, and you see the cases that the court is taking, and the decisions that they have rendered. So we have a lot of work to do, but it all comes back to on the ground at home. Every community, we're responsible for our own communities, what takes place, and reaching out to people so that they know what the differences are, and how important it is for them to vote. When Tamara and I were driving up, she called for jury duty this week. So she was telling me about, what was taking place in the courtroom. And I said, Tamara, it's we're really not. Our government doesn't ask us to do really very much. Jury duty is one of them, right? Voting, although it's not mandated, but we certainly encourage, right? And pay taxes, and no one likes to pay taxes, but taxes we must pay. So I really come to you in many ways with a heavy heart, because the gains that have been made and the Democrats have led, across the board. Whether it's addressing climate change, the infrastructure needs of the American people, health care for the American people, progress for women, progress for minorities. I'm proud of what we believe in and the work that we have done. And when I said about the court and no standing, they went after President Biden's program to help alleviate the burden of student loan debt. Student loan debt in our country today is greater than credit card debt in our country. This is a massive burden that people are carrying. And they went after that, and of course they succeeded at the court. Now the administration is coming back with another plan. And it was not paying anyone's debt in full. But for Pell Grants, it was up to $20,000 and a certain income attached to it for individuals, and $10,000 for others. So it was meant to help lift some of that burden. And we have, I think it's 43,700 individuals that qualified for this in our congressional district. That's a lot of people, and it's a lot of debt. So, I'm proud of having voted for that, supporting the president, and I don't think Joe Biden gets the credit that he really justifiably deserves. A year ago this time, inflation was 9.1%. It's now below 3. It's now below 3. No president in 2.5 years has had as low of an employment rate, and no president in this period of time has created as many jobs. So look what he walked into, and the turnaround of the economy. There's a split between these numbers that I'm repeating, which are really stunning numbers, but not reflected in an approval rating. And I don't know when the approval ratings are going to catch up with these numbers, but I think that it's going to break it. It has to break at some point. We have to see, well, you know what I'm talking about. You can tell I'm tired, right? You can tell I'm tired, but I hope my points are reaching you. So right here at home, I'm really pleased to have joined the city council members, city staff to walk through and see firsthand what the needs are in Pacifica, very specifically. It's one thing to read about something on a piece of paper and what the need is and why and what the approximate costs are and who's doing what. It's another thing to see it and walk it. Do you have the, you had it, Tamara? Did I hand it to you? Maybe you can give that to me. Yeah, so I can share some of the numbers. There is, I started out by sharing with you that we're in appropriation season. There's a difference between the appropriation bills and what we do. I can try to amend a bill. I can put in a request to the Appropriations Committee, whatever the subcommittee is on something particular. Those are all the big bills that go. Something that the Democrats brought back when we were last in the majority was congressional district project funding. Now that was dubbed, pork projects. We've all heard about that. And of course there were members that on both sides of the aisle that abused that project funding, and so it was done away with. We brought it back in the last Congress with many strictures to it. All projects had to be public projects, not anything private, heavily vetted. A member cannot have any kind of financial interest, all the stuff that makes sense, that you would think would be a part of something like that, but wasn't before. But it was, so it was revived, and I was able to put in, first of all, to put out to the cities what the process would be, that they could submit their request to me, which they did, and we vetted all of them to make sure that whatever the strictures were of this undertaking, that the request met that, and then submit it to the Appropriations Committee, and I've done that. And now we're going to find out later on this month what they approve. Now, the Republicans changed, of course, they changed it, and the one thing that the first thing they did was to cut out anything that had anything to do with health care. I know. So I'm awaiting to see, because I do have requests from Pacifica that I submitted, and we'll report back to you and let you know how we made out with them. So, but that really has been, I think, a happy undertaking, because it, it allows for the real stuff that the community needs. I mean, it's trails, it's all the wonderful things that, and many of the projects are with nonprofits, the nonprofit community. And so we've been able to, what I try to do is to, I always look to see if I secure the funding, will it allow the project to go over the top? If something's a 10-year project, I understand that, I have respect for that, but it's exciting to get the money and see the project actually go over the top, so that it can be built, completed, whatever it might be. There's one for years. There's been a group in Palo Alto that has wanted to, there was a building that, I think it was the original building for the Palo Alto Medical Foundation, and so that building was been vacated, and they wanted to do a museum, city museum, Palo Alto Museum, and they raised money, and they had an organization for it, and whatever, but it takes a lot of $5 contributions to get to what, in the millions, right? And, but I was able to secure the money that put the project over the top. So all the work that the people had done, it became a reality, and that's pretty exciting. So we have to change. We have to change the composition of the Congress. And I would say to you as a Democratic club that there was news this week that is going to aid us in that. I don't know how many of you realize that we lost the House in New York. We lost 4 seats there, and that was the death knell for us. And now the court came up with a decision this week that they have to go back and redraw the lines in New York. So there's going to be, that's a very important opportunity for us, and adds to our effort to become the majority again. And I can tell you that the Democrats in the House are so united. We Democrats scrap with each other a lot. But there was not a fight for the leadership of the Democrats in the House. That's extraordinary. It's the first time I've ever seen it. Never happened before. And our Speaker Emerita, Nancy Pelosi, she's being feted by everyone. I'm telling you, kings, queens, prime ministers, ambassadors, every environmental organization, human rights organizations, for her leadership and her work in the Congress. It's a beautiful thing to see. And I don't think that we would have had this absolutely smooth transition. Absolutely smooth transition. There was no opposition to the individuals that were running for, the leadership positions. And I can tell you that Hakeem Jeffries is a gifted individual. He really is. He's an orator in the fullest sense of the word. Every speech he gives, he doesn't have one note in front of him. I don't know how many of you heard him speak when there was the passing of the gavel, when they finally were able to pass the gavel to Kevin McCarthy. Imagine the power of the speakership. It's a position that's in the Constitution, and he is giving his power away. Go figure, huh? Yeah.
Speaker shield for you.
I think you hit the nail on the head. So you should know that the Democrats are highly united and highly motivated to take the House back. We must take the House back. This is not, you know, I think it's important. We're being recorded, and you know, independents, Democrats, Republicans are going to listen to this. It's important to have healthy, functioning parties in our country. This is what is so sad about what has happened, because this is not a functioning, a true functioning legislative body now. This is all about conspiracies and these culture wars. That's not who we are. We're a great nation. We're a great nation, and we can be. We can continue to be, but only if you have the intentionality on the part of the Congress that it's going to function for the good of all of the people that we represent. It's for our country. It's for our country, and that's the kind of patriotism that we need. So, you know, in politics, my father used to say that the worst thing that can befall you in politics is it's not winning and not even losing, but being disregarded. But we can't disregard what they're doing. We can't disregard what they're doing. And what speaks the loudest is that you lose. That people say, no, we don't want you for the following reasons. And I think that their adherence to, you know, I guess on some days I would say it's nonsense. But the thing is, it's not just people talking about, you know, craziness. I took time to explain to you what they're doing in the appropriations, in a defense authorization bill. A defense authorization bill. Yeah. I've never seen the leadership of the committee in all the years that I've been there put out the statement that they did yesterday. That what they began with was something that would serve our military well, keep our country strong, reflect the best values of the American people, but that it has turned into something that was racist and some other words. It was really sad to read it. It was really sad to read it. And our leaders at that committee, you know, they're not left-wing Democrats. They are very centrist and, you know, and have a great deal of experience there. So we need to change this. Your club has a hand in this to make sure that we do everything that needs to be done here, right here at home on the ground. Don't ever think that, you know, it seems so overpowering to us. You know, I mean, I look across the floor and I think, oh my God, this is about our country. And I think, Anna, we take care of our own backyard. And when you stitch all of those backyards together across the country, I think that in our day, in our time, that we will do something that is really worthy of the American people. I've said so many times to constituents that if you haven't been to Normandy, and you have the opportunity, go. Because it has always remained with me ever since I visited Normandy, that when you walk that cemetery there, the average age is anywhere from 16, 17 years old to 20 years old. And in many cases, there are sons buried next to their fathers. And there are some where a father is buried with a son on each side. They knew what they were going into. They were kids. They knew what they were going into. And they did it. They did it. And they didn't get to live a long life, but they gave their lives for this democracy, for this country. It's a sacred thing. It really is a sacred thing. So when constituents say, well, this is tough, what are we going to do? How are we going to do it? You know what? We're going to do it. You know, some things may seem impossible until you do them. Until you do them. And when my heart sinks, I think of Normandy. And that if they could do what they did, then we have our responsibility, as I said, in our day and time. So I want you to know how proud I am to represent you. It's a blessing. You're a blessing. You're a blessing. And I wanted to add this too, and that is that we'll have an office here on the coast side. And I'm sharing the space with Supervisor Mueller, Ray Mueller, and it's at 270 Capistrano Road in Princeton at the shops at the Harbor Village, and we're going to have office hours there from 10 to 3 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I hope that you'll make use of it. You can always set up an appointment or you can stop by. The other thing that I wanted to encourage you to sign up for, and I can't send it out to everyone that's, that has contacted me as a constituent. You have to sign up for it in order to get it. I do a newsletter every week, at the end of the week. And yeah, and you know what? I mean, constituents love it. I mean, they stop me at Costco and the Safeway and, you know, the shoemaker and whatever and say, I get your newsletter, I love your newsletter. And I was listening to the news at the end of the one week, and they're saying the Congress this, the Congress that, and I thought, you know what, that's not, I don't think that's correct, and it doesn't reflect what I did, and I thought, my constituents don't know what I did this week, and I should highlight, you know, keep it interesting. It's not written in federalese, I keep it, you know, yeah, and it's an easy read, but it gives you an update of what took place and you know, highlights some of the things that I've done that week. So I know you want to ask questions, and I probably used up, oh boy. Mike, you want to be the one that calls on people? We'll just start down the table, yeah. We just go down this way, yeah.
Let's go to Mary first.
Okay, ladies first. Okay, hi Mary, how are you? Yeah, it's great to see you. It's great to see you.
So our other council member was today, and I will be late for lunch.
I understand that. And Tiger sent me a message and apologized for not being able to be here, said that, and he lost his grandmother. And yeah, I think he's had, yeah.
And folks that are also dealing with their own issues.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So, really
Mary,
important that they're there.
Mary, why don't you go nearby and get on the mic if you wouldn't mind? Okay, she doesn't want to.
Can I just like continue?
Okay.
Because
You run for
this morning. Okay, thank you so much for your work with the Army Corps of Engineers.
Yes.
So that we can get a study done of our coast side, so we understand what can be protected and what nature is, so we can go work where, so we really appreciate that. We have our Beach Boulevard Infrastructure Resiliency Project, that's very important to all of us. We are gently massaging our relationship with the Coastal Commission, and
Good.
so anything that you can do to help us with that would be fantastic. I know there's more, there's an infrastructure project that Supervisor Miller is putting together for the coast side, so there's going to be a lot of information coming out about our region. I think that's also very important. And then, on a personal note, I'm attending a memorial service for another young person who died in the hands of fentanyl. And so I just ask you to...
Fentanyl?
Fentanyl, yeah. So please keep
It's a scourge in our country.
funding prevention and
Yes.
early intervention. We have the Drug Free Communities grant here for 10 years, and once that goes, then we have to circle on. So, that's my spiel for you. I'm just really happy that you're here, and I respect you so much, so thank you for your support.
Oh, you're so kind. Absolutely. We'll stay on it. I think I shared with the city council members when we had all gathered for the tour of projects that I said to Army Corps when they came to meet with me, they come once a year. I said, this is not a check the box meeting. These are their needs, and they are great needs. These needs have to be met. People pay their taxes. No city can, no jurisdiction has enough money to pay for these. And, you know, the Army Corps really has to roll up their sleeves, and together we need to get this done. Obviously stay on it. Yes. Ken, yes.
I appreciate all what you're doing for us, and we have an ongoing problem here in Pacifica since FAA's next gen. Sue Gree has worked on it, and Mike O'Neill has worked on the SFO roundtable. But we can't stop FAA from these flights are diverting, but often late at night, 24/7, and very low, and keeping some of us going insane.
Yeah.
This noise. And we've been trying to have them fly over the air. What more?
I'm glad you're raising it. As I said, it's appropriation season, and in preparation for that legislation coming to the floor, I'm submitting amendments to the Rules Committee to add points to the legislation, and it deals with the noise. It deals with the noise. I've been dealing with noise in our congressional district for a long, long time. It is one of the worst agencies to work with. I have to tell you that. It really is. I mean, I think they pride themselves on just not paying attention to what anyone says. So if I'm successful, these amendments that I'm offering, Jackie had offered them before. So I'm taking the same ones and trying to get them back in, because if we're successful in doing it, it'll change the law, and it'll give us the wherewithal to deal with it. It's at one time they had two major responsibilities. It was safety, of course, number one, and health. They took health out, I don't know, decades ago. And there are health impacts as a result of all of this. So fingers crossed that the Rules Committee accepts my amendments and they become part of the bill. Okay? But we'll keep you posted on what progress we make. Yes?
Thank you so
Yes.
much for your work with Ray on the community fiber through the landfill.
Yes.
That was an important piece. I have to tell you, unfortunately, though, it's nowhere close to enough. When Ray and I came up with CRISP, Coastal Resilient Infrastructure Strategic Plan, the acronym, we came up with that on December 3rd. He was dragged into office 2 days early by the storms that occurred on December 1st. And so I'm the chair of the Mid-Coast Community Council. I'd like to work with your staff and explain the infrastructure needs that we have come up with and see if we can't work together on some solutions. I believe the issue is national in scope and that there might be an opportunity.
Well, there's a huge opportunity. There's a huge opportunity, and this is on the good news, in the good news lane. I don't know how many of you realize this, but in the infrastructure law that we put into place, that the president, was successful on, there is some 65 point some billion dollars for broadband in our country. So I said in the committee this week, in the subcommittee that's in charge of this, that I've been a member of all these years, that I represent what's called the Silicon Valley District, and no one in the Congress would think that there are any kind of broadband needs in this district. Wrong. And I talked about the coast-side in the committee. It's part of my opening statement this last week. So there's an opportunity because there's the dollars to back up good policy. In fact, the gentleman that heads up the agency that divvies up the money, California has got $1.8 billion of that. So, and he wants to come to my district. They contacted my office this week and he said he'd like to come out to my district, to the areas that are not served well. And I said, well, come on down. I'll look forward to it. So we have an opportunity because there are resources there. This is really once-in-a-generation funding. We have to get this right. But we have the needs, and the money is there. We've got to bring them together. So I'm glad you raised it. Yes?
Thanks, Anna, and thanks for being a lot of our hero. A lot of us are hero. I just want to give you a quick update and thank you specifically for the work you've done. If some of you don't know, you were kind enough to introduce us to the White House Office of Science and Tech Policy under Dr. John Holdren in the early Obama administration regarding open source election system reforms with software upgrades to the systems. Just to let you know, in your acts of heroism, so you know other heroes, I was just in Mississippi, I was telling Sue, with Mrs. Medgar Evers Williams, Lindley, and she blesses the work, and interestingly, Mississippi has now moved ahead of California and the rest of the country. They've deployed the open source voting, paper ballot voting systems we advocate. So just to let you know, now there's 6 counties there that are actually functional. And the work
Isn't that something?
Of all places, Mississippi, and so we're still hopeful that Dr. Weber, our Secretary of State, pays attention and moves us forward. So thank you.
That's very interesting. That's good news. Yes.
It was mentioned earlier that Ronald Reagan had an airport named after him. What are the chances of Donald Trump getting his prison named after him? And maybe another one for George Santos.
Yes.
Okay, that was a quick one. Jim? I was going to say thank you for the article, and anybody who doesn't subscribe to her weekly newsletter, I encourage you to do it. I'm going to disagree with you and President Biden about the student loans. I paid my student loans, I put the money back in so other students can borrow against it, and I think that students should be required to pay it. But my major question for you is Supreme Court ethics. Our most powerful court has the least amount of ethics requirements.
They have none.
I know. Can you do anything about it, and can you legally do anything about it? Can the House tell the Supreme Court how to run their job?
I didn't, because we were tied up this week with, I was with major markups and late on the floor, but I did hear Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, and if you don't know who he is, follow him. He's brilliant, he's decent, and he is the master of tracing the money and the Supreme Court justices. And so his legislation, let it ring, who cares? Yeah, it's me, it's me, it's me, it's me. Hi, Tiger. I did get your message, I did get your message. So the Senate is taking up his legislation on, you know that the Supreme Court has, they don't have anything set up for them to follow relative to ethics. And, you know, it's, I think this is really the most disgraced court in the history of the country. Yeah, really disgraced, really disgraced. And Sheldon's legislation, he explained it in one of the programs that he was interviewed on this week. So you can follow that. I support his legislation, and what it does is it sets up what the court must follow, and you know it gets into the weeds of the judicial conference and how it would really plug up the holes, the loopholes that these justices have used. I mean, imagine Clarence Thomas saying, I talked to other people around here, and this is what they said that they thought I should do. I mean, it's jaw-dropping. No other federal judges in our country operate this way. They all operate with a set of ethics that they have to obey and work under, just as we do in the House and in the Senate. In fact, I'm trying to remember who, well, it's not important who was interviewing him, but he was asked, if you did this as a senator, what would happen to you? You know, and so it was instructive for people listening. But he has been dogged. He has been dogged, and he's brilliant. He's a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, and Dick Durbin is the chairman of Judiciary in the Senate, and was taking up his legislation this week. The court has ignored everything that they have put out. Yeah, it's really something. They've turned into a group of like political hacks. You know, it's really a sad thing. It's really a sad thing. But they can't be allowed to continue this way. They can't be allowed to continue this way. And I think if they get the legislation through, it's going to remedy the mess that they've made and the disgrace that they are to the American people. So,
very brief. We're supposed to be out here. Yeah, look.
So briefly, thank you for, the amendments you put into the FAA.
Mhm.
I want to just make sure one of them is actually curfew. I talked to Kathleen on the SFO roundtable.
yeah, Wentworth.
She's pilot.
Yes. No, I know her. I've known her for 40 years.
And she said, sometimes depending on the weather, the loading, of the aircraft, you cannot make the sharp right over the industrial area and the water and then fly straight over our community and most of the city. So it sounds like the only solution, because of the physical science of the airplanes, is we have to have a curfew. So I just hope that that's in there, because we can't sleep in the middle.
I don't recall if it is. There are like 6 or 7 amendments that I'm offering to the legislation. But if you give me your how to contact you, I'll get back to you on it.
Yeah, I just hope that's in there, because it didn't sound like there's another solution.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing on the appropriation bill for the defense, I think one of the things, the defense budget has a lot of corporate projects, F-35 and, big systems that we don't need anymore in the current, military strategies. I mean, we need small, nimble system, and it'd be great to take out a $2 trillion aircraft system that we don't need, and take that money and put it into things like infrastructure, which are, committee member says we need.
Well, I have voted for that kind of cutting out of their budget in very specific amendments on the floor, but they have to pass. They have to pass, and what I voted for didn't pass. So, thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. God bless you. God bless you. Yeah, no, we can't stand, Democrats don't want to be blamed for not allowing a wedding to take place.
I would like to thank Anna Eshoo for coming. Wait 1 minute, I just have a couple announcements and thank her. And I think it's very good to find out that the airlines treat Congress people the same way they treat us, right? Okay, and a couple of announcements is on August 12th, the San Mateo County Dems are having their election picnic, and get everybody know everybody at Huddard Park and Woodside at noon. So if anybody wants to go, I won't be able to go, and I don't think Andy will be going either. But anyhow, and then next month's meeting is your time to find out everything you want to know about Pacifica schools, because we're going to have the superintendent of Pacifica School District, the brand new superintendent, and then Tony Presta from the Jefferson High School District. And they'll be talking about their schools, employee housing, and the issues that are relevant. And tips for flow. So I adjourn the meeting. Thank you.